Hi, I just wanted to quickly talk to you about reincarnation. So a lot of people think that reincarnation is not in the Bible. So wrong. And they think that reincarnation is not a Christian quality. Well, my question is, to the people who call themselves Christian out there, why do you shave your face if you're so Christian? It says you're not supposed to do that in the Bible. And it says, thou shalt not kill, but a lot of you supposed Christians out there believe in the death penalty. So all I'm saying here to clear the air really fast is that you kind of believe the parts that you want to believe. So now I'm going to go into the parts about reincarnation. Okay, I already talked about the eternal womb waters of life, meaning, eternally being birthed out of the womb waters, the living waters in the belly, which is the womb, which the Bible talks about. If you know anything about the Bible, you know what I'm talking about because you've heard those terms. That's one area where it's kind of mentioned. The other area is in the whore and the pure church, who are the same figure coming back in Revelations, Jesus being resurrected. I know it's a little bit more of a zombie thing, but you can be resurrected through birth, so you could be born here again and be reincarnated as a resurrection. And here's the other thing. If, aside from, what it says in the Bible, because y'all know I think the Bible is completely corrupt, and y'all ignore the parts of the Bible that you want to ignore. I ignore the parts I think are corrupt. Why wouldn't I think it's corrupt when the people who killed Jesus cobbled it together and then Shakespeare wrote most of it later, rewrote it? Okay, people who kill other people, they don't actually leave that person's reality or message in the history books. So yeah, the people who killed Jesus cobbled together the Bible, and now you're following the book that the people who killed Jesus put together. In other words, you're following the complete works of the Jesus Killer's book. But it doesn't mean that there aren't still things in there that make sense, and they do follow what I see is have researched as the true events and timeline, what happened, possibly. I know some of you don't believe in any of it, and that's cool. I totally understand that too. My question was about heaven. Okay, so let's just say you die. You go to heaven, and you're in heaven, and you can have anything you want. Anything you want. And the one thing you really want is you won't go. I think I want to go live my life again. But this time I want to do it in a slightly different way. Or no, that life was so fun, I want to just do it again. Or, you know what? Next time, I think I'm going to come back as Britney Spears. Just kidding. I like Britney though. I just want to come back to live. That's what I want. Well, you're in heaven. You get anything you want. Of course you're going to be reincarnated if you want it. Boom. Done. You get anything you want in heaven, right? You're in freaking heaven. So therefore, reincarnation can be very possible in the Christian scenario. Get to heaven, come back and get reincarnated if that's what you want. If you don't want to, you probably stay dead. I think I'm probably going to stay dead, at least for a really darn long time. I'd like to not come back here. But, maybe we go up there and we get bored of heaven for a while, because if you're in heaven and you can have anything you want, there are certain, unfortunately I hate suffering, but there are certain experiences that you can't have in a realm where you can have everything all you want all the time. You can't have accomplishment. You could already have anything you want, and there's no accomplishment in heaven. You can't have, the idea of meeting someone for the first time. You would have known them eternally. It's boring by that point. You would have never had, that first kiss. Because you know what? You've had a billion kisses, and you can have a billion kisses, which is pretty awesome to me. I don't mind that. But I'm just saying I'm just trying to come up with different scenarios to show you that there are certain experiences that we get here in this suffering zone that we don't get if there is a non-suffering zone, which in my opinion the non-suffering zone eventually becomes suffering. So heaven eventually becomes hell, because you would just get so bored of having everything all the time that you want. Could be wrong. Maybe there's some sort of catch mechanism. I'm hoping that would be great. that keeps you from being bored, because the bored would be a type of suffering too. But I think it's really possible that heaven eventually becomes hell, and then once you're there, you're thinking hell down here looks pretty darn good, and you want to come back here, so hell down here becomes heaven. And this, even though it is pretty much hell, at least it has been in my life, then becomes your heaven, because you get to have new things and new experiences. You get to forget about eternity. You get to, even you just get to struggle. You get to have that experience, which is a new experience for you that you never had in heaven. So that heaven would seem nice for a while, but it would have so many limitations, and I don't think heaven has limitations. So therefore this section of heaven would be created called hell, and or life, heaven and hell both, because they're kind of like the same thing in my eyes anymore. You would come here and be reincarnated. Why not? What if you're like, you know what, you're in heaven and you're like, you know what I really want? This is what I really want. I want to grow a garden, and I want to have that first peach in my hands. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm in heaven. There's already a freaking peach in my hand. I didn't even get to grow it. It just appeared. Well, that's not heaven. You'd have to come here and work in that garden and struggle and have it be really hard to have that feeling of like, yes, I did it. I freaking got a peach. Look at the peach I made. Speaking of peaches, I am a peach person. I forgot. I said that a while back. I'm not white. Look, this is white. This is white, everyone. I am peach. I'm a peach person. I've created a new race. And I also created this supreme race of humanity called humans. Person is the supreme race. For humans. I'm not trying to be speciesist and say we're better than dolphins or something. How would I know? So anyways, what I'm trying to explain to you is that because certain experiences would not be allowed or be able to be happening in the non-suffering heaven, that in order to get anything you want, we would have to be born into this section of heaven. So this, yes, while it is hell, it's also heaven. All of it's a big section of heaven, in my opinion. I mean, even if you got to the lowest steps of hell, which, believe me, I would not want to be there. Okay, I've already sampled and tasted a little bit of that, and I'm not interested in that. Not eternally. That would be, yeah, that's not good. Anyways, aside from that, which I'm hoping that's not what we're in now, sorry, I'm a little bit blasted because it's so horrible. What my hope would be when you get down to that lowest point in experience in the universe, that somehow you learn to accept it and you learn to endure it. At that point, everything becomes heaven, because then you have learned to endure the worst hell there is. That's also possible. It's possible that that's what we're doing here. I don't really know what we're doing here, but I can't tell you that. I'm a large part of me is an agnostic as well as a believer, and I have my brief flashes of atheism still, but not that much anymore. Just, world's too weird. I don't really have those flashes of atheism that much anymore. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. I'm freaking rambling, aren't I? Sorry, this sermon is probably the worst sermon I've ever done. It sucks. Okay, let me try to make it better. What I'm trying to say is, in cap, to summarize, reincarnation is totally possible. And if you call yourself a Christian and you believe in reincarnation, that's completely possible. Not only are there hints of it in the Bible with the eternal waters of life and Jesus coming back and everything and resurrections and things like that, but there's also the fact that once you get to heaven, you can have anything you want. Some of those things you can only have in life, where there's restrictions and there's suffering. So you might say, I want to come back, and that will be your reward, is to come back here. The end. Reincarnation is totally a Christian value. So stop your freaking, there's no reincarnation, there's no reincarnation in the Bible, can't be real, and blah, blah, blah. Just shut up. Yes, it can be. Proof. Done. There. Thank you. Bye. Love ya.